All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Science Talk. Today, we will be talking about climate change and the media and climate policies and a lot of other things on one of the countries in South Asia, and that is Bangladesh. And my guest today is a PhD candidate, Mushfiq Wadood. He's doing his PhD at the University of Colorado Boulder. He has been a journalist for many years, has covered many mainstream events in Bangladesh, a lot of terrorist attacks, and a lot of disaster related events over the last several years. His work has been published in Washington Post and Guardian and many other renowned journalistic outlets. He has also received many awards of his work. He also published work on climate change and media in journalism practice and some other journals in our discipline. Thank you, Mushfiq, for your time. And let's talk about climate change and a lot of other issues in Bangladesh, because Bangladesh is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. And you have done a lot of journalism, and we also know the recent political crisis in Bangladesh. Right now, it's happening in Nepal. So South Asia is like seeing more and more uprising and protests, and kind of violent, regime change kind of stuff over there. But let's talk about climate change in Bangladesh. What's up? What is the latest, and what you can tell us? Like, start us from there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tifak. I'm a big fan of your work, the
Thank you.
you're doing and on climate change issues. There is one very serious question about the climate journalism, climate communication, environmental communication from South Asia, because lots of funds are very concentrated in global north and not many researchers are doing this. But I would like to appreciate you for doing this work, like the extensive work you are doing from Pakistan.
Thank you for saying good words about my work. And yes, of course, the issues are same, in South Asia or in Pakistan or in Bangladesh.
Yeah, and so Bangladesh there is a big concern about this climate communication, environmental communication, in a way that Bangladesh's biggest industry is garments industry, and one of the biggest polluters is garment industry. So when the media, and then there are some literature about this uh, focus on some developing countries, they focus on development when they are
Yes.
talking about environment. So for them, environment is not top priority on it always. Like the economy is the top priority. So Bangladeshi garment industry is one of the three largest garment industry in the world. So and this is how the economy survive. So when there are some question about the pollution in the river, and this is done by industries. Not many journalists or many news organizations they find interest about that. So I think this is a very big is a very big issue in the climate communication. Like not talking about these how the big companies are harming the country, and so there are um, many studies that because of climate change, the many natural disaster, and the climate event are frequent. Bangladesh has been experiencing. There are serious problem with Bangladesh's air pollution. There are many serious problem with some coastal people. Like
Yes.
every year, they face some. There are some boulders there, but they cannot protect them. So, but the question is, if the journalism they can report on these. I feel that there is serious problem in journalism, in environmental and climate journalism from Bangladesh. One of my studies is about the freelance climate journalists who are based in Bangladesh. And one of the solution can be that international media are reporting, because the local media is very concerned about development. They are not talking about an environment for any developing country. Environmental issues might not be the top priority. So one solution or one escape from this, it can be the international media. The international media is not also doing the job they should do, like, because most of these international media, they are dependent on freelance climate
Yes,
journalists.
on local journalists. Yes.
Yeah, local journalists, but they're not properly paid. There are a serious problem of resources. There are serious problem of their financial, how they get paid from these news organizations. So there are many questions about these type of reporting also, because they cannot cover. And you studied about Pakistani flood, and you can see in international media, even if it is a big issue in Pakistan, you cannot see the impact in international media because they are dependent on freelance. There are so freelance reporters who do not have the resources. So I feel that there might be some the more work is needed on about the climate change.
So one of the things for people to understand that Bangladesh is a very climate vulnerable country. Its the risk is very high, especially on the coastal lines. People move because the sea level is rising in Bangladesh, and
Yeah.
because of that, a lot of people do immigrate to other places, like within country or sometimes to India, sometimes to other countries. And there are some reports which show that by 2050, for example, a lot of areas would go uninhabitable, or kind of there won't be any agriculture in Bangladesh left, because for example rice is one of the main crops, right? One of the main foods people eat, right? So it's kind of climate refugees is one of the bigger problems in Bangladesh. But like you just talked about, like the media is more concerned with the development, not with the impacts of climate change. And you've been a journalist for like a decade, for 10 years or more than 10 years. You have a lot of friends in journalism. Why is that the journalism only cover, or they're very much concerned about economy or financial situation of the country rather than talking about the real issues people facing, which is like the climate catastrophes?
Yes. So my um, point is, I feel that, and I was a news reporter, and this was a I used to cover environmental issues, climate issues. And often in journalism, these are not considered very breaking news. These are not
Yeah.
considered some newsworthy things. So, and there is some notion among editors that they are not, audience do not like this. There are some theories about compassion fatigue. Many people, because Bangladesh is very vulnerable to climate change, and there are lots of discussion for the last few years. And so when there are many the inside the country, they do not feel the urgency about that. Because economy is the immediate impact they see.
Yeah.
If the garments industry does not run, if the industry does not run, many people will lose job, many people will be unemployed. So this is their immediate concern because of the poverty, resource, economic issues. So I think from Bangladesh, you cannot find the quality of environmental journalism. So we need some non-profit, very international news organization for that, who can talk about. So about the uh, management of news organization about the climate communication. And I feel that I used to work some non-profit, one is Thomson Reuters Foundation. I worked for more than one decade, and they used to cover climate change, but the funding is also going down, internationally. Now they stopped this. That they used to write only about climate. They have a climate side, but no, these type of organization are disappearing. They are not
Mm.
interested and they're not getting funds. So we need to survive. We need to do something to so that they can survive this international news
Yeah. So
organization. So
so for example, Bangladesh is a very small country in terms of the size. It's one of the most populated countries on the earth, in terms of, like the per within a square mile, there's a lot of people living in Bangladesh, and the population is increasing, right?
yes,
So a lot of reportings do show that in Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, climate is going to be a big, big issue or a
right.
disaster for their economies. Like you have to spend a lot of, a large percentage of your GDP by addressing these issues. But like, is that the government is not concerned, or is it the journalism, or people are not aware of these issues in Bangladesh?
Yeah, so you rightly pointed out that in major cities there are a very big issue of water logging, and for water logging, like billions, millions of dollars they spend, and but what is the solution? Like, think about Dhaka. Dhaka has a serious water logging issues. Like during monsoon, like you cannot. I am in my house. Like I cannot go outside without any vehicle. Like all roads are flooded during the season. Um,
That's
but
what is happening right now in Pakistan too.
now, yes. So, what is the? I work on climate change on this issue for a long time, and we talk to scientists, we talk to expert urban planners. Like one solution is like making lots of canals, like Dhaka.
Yes, yes.
Most of the water bodies are in courts. Like some people, they just fill these and they build a house. Like there are many. Dhaka was planned, like this was created as a very planned way, and there should be some water bodies all over the Dhaka. So if the administration they can recover these water bodies, then water logging will not be there. So why they cannot? Because of the political will. Because these people who are filling the water bodies and they're building house, they're very influential people because there are corruption there. So
Mhm.
this South Asian country, all the South Asian country has the similar problem that
Yeah.
they have the do not have the political will. So that's why. So I feel that everything is connected. So your question is who are responsible that the climate is work is not working. I feel that there is a nexus. Right? Everything is connected. Journalism, most of the news organization in based in Bangladesh, they have that the garments factory owner. They might have a garments factory. They are not interested about that. So um, I feel that there should be one very hopeful thing, like we can have a solution about is the movement,
Mhm.
environmental movement. In Bangladesh, there is a one of the biggest mangrove in the world. This
Yes.
is Sundarban, and the previous government, the government that was ousted, they tried to build a power plant there, and the power plant. There are many experts say that power plant can destroy this mangrove, but the government did not listen to them. So, and then there are some movements. This is famously called Sundarban movements, and it is still going on there. They cannot stop this, but um, I feel that in all South Asia there should be some climate movement, the environmental movement, because there are big companies, who are responsible for harming the climate.
What do people think about climate change in Bangladesh?
So when I was a reporter, I used to talk to many people and also in social media. I often feel that climate change is not a very interesting topic here. Like no, most people do not want to discuss about that. And
And why is that?
when the reporter talk about this, the editor said that they do not, the
What?
audience do not follow. But I feel that the reason is, and there are some studies also that when people are not very well off here, like also in all through South Asia. Like you can think about the air quality issue in Delhi. Like India is a rising power and their economy is also growing.
Yes.
Still, there is no concern because people here, like economy is a big issue and many people live below the poverty line. So
Yep.
their main concern is to earn their living and climate is not something
Something which they feel urgent. Yeah.
yeah, they feel this is luxury that when if they can survive, they can have the meal and they can survive. Then
Well, like
they
the,
can.
the, the thing is, like, there's not gonna be any rice crops left because there is no agriculture if these keep flooding. So there's not gonna be any food
Yeah,
left for you to
yeah.
eat, and that is urgent, right?
Yes, that is but people do not see the immediate.
Right.
Yes, yeah, because this is the long term,
Yeah.
and sometimes we are selfish. We are not thinking about the future generations. Right? Like the future generation might because many people think that this might not even if the sea level rise, they might not face these or something like that. So, but there should be some study that why people are not interested. But from my experience, I feel that climate change is not a interesting topic here. Not many people want to discuss about that. And there are some climate denial. Some people there is some strong group who
Hmm.
do not believe that climate change is happening, and they do not want to believe about that. So this is also an important factor.
So who are the climate deniers in Bangladesh? Is it the religious groups or like is it like some?
Religious group, but they're not very strong there. But they do not have trust in. I feel that a section of people, and not only religious group, because some people who do not trust in media, some people who do not have
Yeah.
trust in science, so they do not want to believe. Um, one strong influence is from religion, but religion is not everything. Some people
Yeah.
might not be religious, but they are very suspicious about their questioning the really in scientific authenticity. And
Got it.
also, there are some also, because Bangladesh is climate vulnerable, and there are some NGOs are working here, and there are some question about their accountability also, and this might have some impact for climate because sometimes they are exaggerating something, and sometimes this is not good. And I also want to focus these aspects. This is not often discussed because of there are many discussion about climate change, and some people when they are listening a lot of things, and some of them that do not make sense, they might not find this interesting.
So in terms of like climate policies in Bangladesh, in your assessment, which government was doing more for climate change than others? I mean, like Hasina was in power for many years, or
Yep.
before that, or like right now, this government, which government do you think is more climate friendly than others?
I do not differentiate. Like there are many during the previous government, they are very there are tendency of autocracy, and it was widely called hybrid government, and there are serious problem with accountability. I feel that there are many questions during this time because this government was very obsessed with development. During the Sheikh Hasina government, there are very big projects and supported by China.
Yeah.
There are bridges and there's some big infrastructure. So and there is some development. They're not very least interest about climate change because she built a power plant in Sundarban, one of the biggest mangrove in the world. and this is supported by financed by Russia.
Hmm.
So there are some serious questions, but um, I feel that if I say that the present government is good for environment, I for climate, I do not feel that I should would say that because I do not see any outcome. I do not see
Yeah.
any
Any action? You don't see
in,
any
in
action?
action, like,
Yeah.
because we talked about the system, we talked about the how this is very rooted in the in Bangladeshi society about, and there is some nexus about the politician, about the government officials, and there is some corruption that way. Think about the water bodies in Dhaka that, like, if they can recover these, this can solve many problems, but they're not doing this.
So what are some of the things you think media is not talking about related to climate change in Bangladesh, and they should talk more about it?
So, one very important issue is the water bodies, I think, and the way industries are polluting this. And this has a very long term impact.
How
And
the rivers are being polluted by these industries?
yes, there are many studies that some of the rivers, even if you have someone has a bath there, like someone use the water, they can have some serious skin disease. Like
Yeah.
most of, there are many studies that is huge polluted in most of the rivers in Dhaka, like, and this is why the industries, and because most of the newspaper are owned by some of the industry, big industries, and so they are not talking about this. So this is a very big
System.
issue. You talked about the climate migration, and this
Yeah.
is also a very big issue in Bangladesh. Particularly like internal migration, like in from
Yes.
coastal area, in Dhaka slum. I was a news reporter for a UN news organization. This is called the New Humanitarian. We did some report about the climate migrants, and I also work for a project of Thomson Reuters Foundation about, and we found that when I work on this, that in Dhaka slum, like most of these people, they're coming from coastal areas, and they're leading a very bad life here, and they want to go back, but they have no place to go back. But often this is not a very widely discussed issue
Hmm.
in Bangladesh. So this is another important aspect. And sometimes some from the ocean that many countries they recover many Bangladeshi from there, and they're going there. And if you think about their background, most of them are mainly from coastal areas. So
Hmm.
in coastal area, because
Because
of
the sea level is rising, and every year
seas of
there's
the
kind of
housing, and every year they're facing some floods, like very devastating flood, and some of the in parts of Satkira district, there is no crop there because of this flooding, and they cannot, and the salt water there,
yeah.
the soil became salty, and they do not have crops, they do not have. I meet many, like I got introduced with many Bangladeshi rickshaw puller. They're coming from Satkira, and because there used to be agricultural work, there used to be
Hmm.
labor there, but nowadays they cannot work there, and so they have to migrate to Dhaka. And most of the, if there need to be some study about these rickshaw puller and some low income group in Dhaka city. If you study, if there is a survey, you can find that most of them coming from coastal areas. So this is a big issue, but often the local media, local researcher on climate, they're not talking about this. So this is a very big issue. I feel that.
Makes sense. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And today we just kind of shed some light on climate journalism and why media in Bangladesh do not pay attention much to the climate, and also what are some of the issues related to climate change in Bangladesh, including, the rivers are getting polluted by the industries, as well as There's internal migration issues, and Bangladesh, the government, as you know, South Asian governments are not acting on climate change, and there's nothing much being done on climate change in Bangladesh, according to Mushfiq. Thank you so much again for your time.